And hello and welcome to the Art of Being podcast. Almost got a little webcast. And it is your hosts now, two of us, Kevin Polk talking right now and talking in just a moment, Phil Tenalia.
That'd be Phil Tenalia.
Tenalia. Going to do the Tenalia. And we're going to do this together. And as we go through podcast episodes, and I believe this is podcast number 10. I did the first 9 by myself, and then Phil became available, and Phil and I have known each other for 10 years now. Phil literally started with me before the Matrix, the Act Matrix was created. He started with the iView.
Oh, yeah. I still have my copy.
And maybe we will do a podcast on the iView.
Hey, that would be fun.
That would be a fun topic. So we need to add that to our topic.
Yeah.
We can talk about the iView, which was the predecessor to the Matrix.
You can see all the components of the Matrix were there. They just hadn't coalesced yet.
And I guarantee you almost nobody, even all the thousands of Act Matrix users in the world now, almost none of them know the term the iView. It was the predecessor to the Matrix. Anyway, we're going to talk about all kinds of topics over the weeks and months and years that we do this podcast. But today we're going to talk about the movie The Matrix, the original movie that starred Keanu Reeves, who's still a big star. Now he's a big star of the John Wick movies.
Yes.
And
he keeps evolving too.
And he's also just one big star in that he's a cool guy.
Yeah.
They have videos. He said, what happens after you die? And Colbert asked him that. What happens after you die? What do you think happens after you die? And he said, I think the people who loved you remember you, or something like that.
Yeah, yes.
Blue Colbert reaches out and shakes his hand.
Pretty much. That's all he could do at that point.
Like, man, that was so profound. But anyway, he's known for that. But he was not known for that back when he was Neo. The brand new Neo in the Matrix movie. And why are we talking about the Matrix? Because it's the Act Matrix. And it was not named the Matrix at first, was it, Phil?
No, it was not. It had a very unsexy title, as I recall, Kevin.
Extraordinarily unsexy, called The Grid. Grid, The Grid. And at that time, I was talking a lot with a man by the name of Jim Bastian. He's a social worker and a Buddhist, by the way. And he said, hey, Kevin, and go back a little bit. We had thrown out the name The Matrix 2 or 3 times just because it was sort of like a mathematical matrix.
Yeah. And it is a matrix. If you look up the definition of the matrix.
Look up the definition of it. It's a 2 by 2 matrix.
Yep.
And so we had thrown that out a couple of times, but it was in that context. But I hadn't really gone with that name till Jim Bastian says, come on, Kevin, you got to name it The Matrix because that's got Keanu Reeves sexy attached to it. So then the story goes, well, if a Buddhist tells you to call something The Matrix because it's got Keanu Reeves sexy attached to it, you better call it The Matrix.
Yep.
Later on, actually, when we wrote the book, which Phil did a chapter in, The Matrix Goes to School.
Yeah, promoting psychological flexibility and education. Yes, that was my contribution. Yep.
That was your contribution. Great chapter, by the way, folks. Get that original book and read that chapter. It's really great. But it was at that time then New Harbinger wanted us to call it the Act Matrix.
Yes.
Us being Benjamin Schoendorf and I were editing. It was a chapter book, and we were editing it. And then they wanted it to the Hexaflex Made Simple, which was sort of kind of what I was doing when I created the Matrix, but not that big a deal. So anyways, without further ado, we will talk about the Matrix movie, and I think most people, whenever they think about the Matrix movie, it's not too long before they think about the red pill and the blue pill.
Oh, yes.
And if you think about those two pills in relation to the act matrix, something comes up. So you take it away, Phil.
Well, little known factoid just about the movie itself. I'm going to geek a little bit here because it was like a seismic shift kind of a movie. Before it came along, there was a certain way of doing things, and all of a sudden it showed up very much like Kevin Polk's derivation that we're talking about here today, and it got everyone's attention in movie land and beyond. And also context, Kevin, remember, right around the time it came out, 1999, was the old Y2K scare. Remember that?
I do remember that. Right. Yeah,
Everybody's afraid their computer was going to crash.
Hoarding food and buying guns and all kinds of stuff.
It was horrible. It was horrible. Everybody thought that like once that 2000 showed up, that the computers would crash and the old computers wouldn't be able to handle the new data, and everything would just shut down. I can remember watching the ball go down, and they're going, okay, well, China's still on and Japan's still on, and and the newscasters were actually reporting this, and like nothing happened.
Yes,
it was the greatest non-event in the history of the modern world, right?
I don't know any young people listening, but
yeah,
it was the date stamp.
Yeah,
they hadn't prepared the internal workings of the computers. The date when it switched to 00 or 2000 was going to crash everything. So yes, so it was during that time.
Yep.
Wow. Okay, so what else about the Matrix? The red pill and the blue pill.
The red pill and the blue pill. Well, I mean, you think about the movie, and I mean, just my thoughts about it right now, and Kevin, you can weigh in, is you have the Keanu Reeves, who is basically the hero of the story, and the Matrix is really along the lines of the classic hero's quest. Is it not, Kevin?
It is indeed. It's one of the many. Well, obviously, they go back thousands of years. Yeah. Hero's quest. Some people call it the hero's journey,
or the hero's journey, right?
Hero's journey, whatever. It's a story arc that many books, many stories, and many movies use.
Yeah. So without jumping into the story too much, very quickly we discover Neo asleep at his desk. So I look at that as being someone who is unaware at this point, and our hero usually starts out unaware, and they need some help, and he's literally like crashed out over his keyboard, and then you see on his keyboard on the monitor itself the words "Wake up, Neo."
Yeah, in old green computer text.
Yes,
right.
Yes. And now he's going, what the heck is going on here, right? And he's obviously a hacker, but he's going to become much more as the story evolves.
Yes.
So he starts out in a state of kind of confusion. He's a bit of a rebel, not quite sure what he's doing with his life. He's kind of aimless in the sense of like he's working a 9-to-5 job where he has to, go in there and sit at the cubicle and all that stuff. I think that appealed to a lot of people at the time, and probably appeals to a lot of people these days.
I think so.
Working within the mechanized system, as it were.
Yeah, well, I don't think working within the mechanized system appeals to a lot of people.
Right. So immediately gets everybody's attention right there, because
people's attention. Escape.
Yeah, we're all Neo. We're all with him at that.
Get out of the cubicle.
Yeah, right. We immediately bond with Neo because he has to go to work and get yelled at by his boss, and everybody can raise their hand to having been yelled at by their boss, and you need to get your act together. So that's how we're introduced to him. And then he starts his quest. I mean, that's kind of, then.
Well, the quest is literally he's escaping from the cubicle.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because the Men in Black guys, Mr. Smith and company.
Yes. Agent Smith.
Agent Smith.
Got everybody wearing dark sunglasses.
All right. They all come after him in his cubicle.
Yes, exactly.
Crawling around the maze of cubicles and going out.
Right before then, he gets the first cell phone call. Because if you recall, he's at his cubicle after he just got done chewed out by his boss, and he gets the cell phone.
From
FedEx.
the UPS,
FedEx,
from FedEx, right?
And he opens it up, and it starts ringing.
And of course, this is Big Brother watching.
Yeah. Well, this is the answer to look. They're coming for you, and you need to get out of there. So now it's about making choices. The way I look at it, now he's got a choice, right? All along, this whole thing is about making choices. Which way do you want to go?
Toward or away, or away. Right?
And the cool thing about it is that, in order you have to do something. So he keeps being thrust into these situations where he has to do something. It's not so much as a thinking his way out.
They're not saying sit and contemplate.
No, he didn't even have a nanosecond. He had to go.
Go now, right?
Yeah.
Listen to me. Go now. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So there you go. And so he couldn't spend much time down in the lower reaches of dare I say, his matrix. And for people not familiar, if you're listening to this podcast for some unknown reason, and you don't know what the matrix is, the top of it has your five senses, and at the bottom of the matrix is your mind. And what Phil is, and also up in the five senses are your behaviors. You're doing things up there, right. And so what many of us will want to do, or a lot of us do, whenever we have something we need to do, is we say, "Oh, I got to think about that."
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to go think about that.
I got to make a decision.
I got to make a decision. I got to weigh the pros and cons and all that stuff. And what the writers of the movie have done is thrown Neo into no. You don't get to sit and think. You get to think about a few nanoseconds and do something. And go for it. So he does not get trapped into thinking his way out of it. And that thing keeps coming up in the movie.
Yes.
Remember the jump scene?
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Go ahead. You could lay that one out for us.
Well, the jump scene is about, he has the ability in this world because, by the way, he's taken the red pill, and the red pill, goes down the rabbit hole, as we say. So
that's another choice he's offered: the red pill or the
trained, and he's being trained to be this ultimate fighter or whatever, see beyond realities and stuff. So he literally has the ability to jump the building, the chasm between the buildings, and to follow. What's the guy's name?
Morpheus.
Morpheus, thank you. Follow Morpheus and jump across the chasm. But what he does is line up, and what does he start to do? He starts to think.
Yes.
Neo starts to think.
Yeah.
And like many, many, many of us, he thinks himself right out of the ability to jump. Yeah. So the whole idea is to jump. And it's there, it's within you. You can do that jump. But he thinks himself right out of it and falls down. But in that wonderful world of, he falls many stories and then bounces.
Goes right through the asphalt and bounces right back up.
The asphalt is nothing but a computer program. It's a bunch of zeros and ones. It's just a computer program that can be manipulated by people who know how to manipulate it, being Morpheus and company and others. So so fun. But no, the point of that is of getting trapped in the mind, instead of going with your abilities and going. So that theme comes around a lot. So the whole point of this, folks, is that it was really accidental that any of this Matrix stuff of the movie it was not about the movie. We weren't talking about Toward and Away and Red
Nope.
Pill, Blue Pill, or any of that stuff. It was purely, hey, you ought to call it The Matrix because that's got Keanu Reeves sexy attached to it. It was just, it was a Buddhist doing marketing. It'll market better if it's called The Matrix rather than The Grid. And indeed it did. It worked. And it has gone around. But since then, coming back to it, my goodness, you can see The Matrix. And now that you mentioned the cubicle thing, Phil, that topic will come up in other of our discussions of people. Well, I'll go ahead. There's okay, pause for a moment. Part of how Phil and I are going to get our ideas for what to talk about is our dear spouses, our wives.
Yes.
are going to feed us topics.
They've already started. Mine's
already started, right. And my wife was the first, and she said, oh, here's the article I want you to discuss. And it's called Hiding in Plain Sight.
Right.
In Oprah magazine. I'll give you all the details of it when we do the podcast. But it's the trouble that people have working in the corporate world and losing their identity. And if you go back once again,
we're back at the movie.
Back in the movie, right? We're back in the Matrix again. Right. So that theme, God, that movie's it's 20 years old now, right?
Yeah, in 1999 and 2019. Yeah, it's about 20
so
years
it's 20 years old.
Yeah.
So in 20 years, we're still at the Matrix.
Yep.
So to continue on, by the way, and if you didn't hear about the Matrix, over to the right is toward moves, essentially moving toward who and what's important to you. And in Neo's case, it's like, hey, Neo, do you want to save the world?
Yeah.
And
he first went like, hell no, I don't want to save the world.
Oh, man, I'm going to stay in my cubicle.
Yeah.
I'm going to stay away from that, and I want to stay safe. And away boils down to staying safe.
Right. So he could be a kind of a drone kind of worker during the day and be a hacker at night, and he was able to kind of get along, but he wasn't really living. He was still asleep.
He was being fake at work.
Yeah, right.
Which is what that Hidden in Plain Sight article is about. Right. So we'll come back to that. But yeah, so he was faking it, being one thing in his private life and another thing in his business life, in his coding life. And So anyways, that theme will come back to us over and over and over again, I'm sure. But he could save the world, which is scary stuff. And fear can show up and get in the way of you saving the world.
Self-doubt. He had tons of self-doubt. I am not the one.
Okay, everybody. So now we're talking about the lower left quadrant of the Matrix. So in the lower left quadrant, so if you do the two lines, one line, vertical line, so since it's at the top, line at the bottom, and then horizontal line bisecting that toward to the right, away to the left, you just created 4 quadrants. So who and what's important to you is in the lower right-hand quadrant. And yucky stuff that can show up and get in the way shows up in the lower left. So that is, hey, I need to save the world. And then the thought, there's no damn way I can do that. Self-doubt shows up. And he has lots of lower left stuff showing up. When Morpheus essentially offers him to be the one.
Yes.
Right? It's the one.
Yeah.
The one.
He was the one. Yes.
The one. And the complete sentence was the one to save the world.
Pretty much.
To save humankind. To break out of the battery. There were human batteries, right?
Well, he was even shown by Morpheus what's really going on, that all the humans were being engineered by machines, sentient machine beings, and they were harvesting them for energy. So they're all in these pods.
Yeah, so we'd all become a generator.
Right.
And to keep us placated, they were feeding us
this
They're
this
feeding
false
it
reality, right?
false reality, right?
But they're all in the pods. No one's really anywhere but in their floating around in their pod.
Right, and you're connected through a circuit in the back of your neck.
Yeah, and they had tubes all over him at that point. Yeah,
Oh, that's true. They have tubes all over
Yeah,
him.
he had tubes all over his body.
Right,
Yeah.
so either they give you some nutrient thing to keep you
Yeah.
alive,
But once he woke up, they kind of flushed him out. You know, I remember that scene where like he woke up.
that's another. You get flushed out the
They
whole
got
thing. Right
out he went. Right? Yeah, out he went. And then Morpheus picked him up.
So he goes from escaping the cubicle to escaping the I don't know, the ideas of the cubicle. The fake world.
Thing, looking back at it, he also was moving toward what got him to the hero, to the end, was he first had to move toward relationships. Those people, Morpheus and Trinity, as I'm throwing in another name, was a young lady who was very connected to him, and he got connected to this band of rebels that really were looking to help people break out of this, the tyranny of being stuck in this matrix.
Right, and now we go to another level of the matrix, the pro-social matrix, where in the lower right we ask, what's our shared purpose? And you join a band like that if you share the purpose with them.
Yep.
You know, do you want to be a member of this motley crew that's purpose is to save the world, or save humankind anyway, from being batteries or being generators and living in a fake existence? Are you going to join this band? And he has to make that decision too.
Right. And and that would be taking the blue pill, which is I want to stay stuck in the story in my head, as opposed to getting out there in the world and taking all of my stuff with me, all my fear with me.
Right. And then it goes on to, and we won't belabor this a long time, but let's go to the guy. I can't remember his name, but he's the Judas. He's the...
Oh, that's Cypher.
Cypher turns on him.
Yeah.
And essentially what Cypher has done, he's saying, darn it, I took the red pill and I don't like seeing reality.
He has regret showing up in him, Kevin.
He has regret. He says, I want to go back. Yes. I want to take the blue pill. I want to go the way of the blue pill and go back to a created reality for me.
Yep.
New machines can create the reality.
I don't care if it's fake. It's where I want. It's safe. I feel good.
Safe. Right. It's safe and I feel good.
I get relief.
I'm in the womb.
Yeah.
Back in the pod, they're creating a womb. You're floating in liquid like in a womb. So I want to go back to the womb. I want to go back to the safe place. So he's doing a massive away move. In our terms of the Matrix, he's costing the lives of all of them.
Yeah. He ends up, some people die because of him, right?
Right. Because of his away moves and the stuff that can happen when you go that way. So once again, we could go on and on and on about how you can look at. So now look at the act Matrix and the movie The Matrix and the follow-up movies as well, but we won't get into those. But you can look at all of this, and the problem being is that once you know a little bit about the act Matrix, and you think about, oh, my five senses, there's my five senses.
Yep.
And then you have there's my mind. Oh yeah, I can see my mind, and toward, oh yeah, who and what's important to me, and to the away side is basically safety. How am I doing to stay safe? And some things that I need to do really are to stay safe.
Absolutely. Yeah.
They're very necessary. I need to avoid getting run over and snakes and
keep us alive.
I need to stay alive, so I can fight another day. So I can, fight the art of being another day. Because in order to do the art of being, like this podcast is titled, you got to be alive. And so away moves are necessary to continue your art of being. And so I guess in finishing, Neo's, he really changed his art of being, right?
Oh, yeah. He took taking the red pill to me is like doing the Matrix, because once you take the red pill, you are going to look at things a different way. You're going to have a different perspective.
And there's Phil anticipated the ending exactly. That's exactly, because once you go into noticing your five senses and noticing your mind and noticing who and what's important to you and noticing the away moves, the things you do to stay safe, and you get to noticing all that stuff, boom, the red pill just arrived, because you can't see things the same way anymore. Yep. And the more you do it, the more aware you are. So you really changed your art of being. You've gone to it's an awareness, just like Neo. You've gone from unaware to aware.
Right.
And it's just a simple way to go to that awareness. And so if you want to, we'll do no. Okay. Well, we'll probably always have our shameless marketing.
Oh yes, segment. We must do this. This is the shameless marketing part of it.
Stolen from Click and Clack, the Tappet Brothers, a radio show that used to be on NPR, but they always had their shameless commerce portion of the show, which is ours. You know, that we do train people in how to use the ACT Matrix. We even certify people in how to using the ACT Matrix. It's really cool. And we'll get into that more, but it's always there available to you at the ACT Matrix Academy, the ACT Matrix Academy. So if you type that into Google, the ACT Matrix Academy, it's going to come up. You're going to find it, and you can click on it, and then you're going to see more than one way of getting in touch with us. But not very far down the page, there is going to be and I had that saved on my computer so I could see it, and of course I got rid of it. Well,
I'm on your webpage.
I'm almost there.
Yeah.
And what does it say? It says, give us your podcast ideas.
That's it.
And so you can type in your first name and email, and then there's this little box that says, give us your podcast ideas or be a guest on the podcast. And so if you have an idea for what you would like Phil and I to talk about in terms of the ACT Matrix, let us know.
Yep.
And if also, we definitely have guests, and we want to have guests. And literally, if you want to be on the show,
I've been asking people around me to join me, and we're going to have a few more people on as time goes on. Yeah. No experience necessary, folks. Just wanting to chat. That's it.
Just wanting to chat, and it comes around like I got to talking about the art of being, and if you are alive and walking around and talking, you're doing the art of being. Yes, and as I said, part of the art of being is staying alive. That involves away moves, so that's fine. And of course, part of the art of being is toward moves. And whatever your take on it is, come talk to us about it. But if you have a topic you want to discuss with others and bring it, and Will would of course tell people about your website or whatever you were doing, your book or chapter or website or whatever you're doing. We'll make sure and give you a plug. This podcast, if you're listening to this, you may be listening to it on SoundCloud. Not too far in the future, I hope for it to be up on iTunes, a podcast in iTunes. And it is the video portion where you can actually see Phil and I talking will be up on YouTube. And so just go to YouTube and type in Dr. Kevin Polk. Yeah. That'll be the easiest. Be under my YouTube channel. So it'll be under Dr. Kevin Polk. But it'll be in all those places. And we'll just keep doing this. This is our first one. Is probably a little bit rough, but what the heck.
You're going to evolve, Kevin.
We're going to evolve. You're not going to get polished with Phil and I. Maybe eventually we will, but we rough this stuff out, this life thing, and do the best we can, and evolve things. And the ACT Matrix is very much an evolutionary model, which is, through that awareness that you get with it, you become aware and notice what works, where you want to go in life, and notice what doesn't work as well.
Doesn't. Yeah, that's the other side.
And what you hope is that you discontinue doing the stuff that doesn't work so well, and you continue doing the stuff that works, and voila, you got yourself, a better life.
Yep.
For however you want to say it. So do come to the website, theactmatrixacademy.com, and tell us your ideas also, or sign up for a certification.
Absolutely.
That we do. I forgot to discuss that.
Yeah, let's get into
we were doing that earlier before we came on the podcast. We brought up several options. You can pay all at once for certification. And don't worry, Phil and I will take you by the hand and take you all the way up to you're an expert in the ability to engage others with the ACT matrix and the pro-social matrix. You can do it all at once. You can do it in 12 monthly installments. But there's also a couple of lower priced ones for $49.95. So if you want the entire 30 months of paying that, it would total up to the price of a certification. And we thought, hey, maybe some people can't even afford that. We'll make a $19.95 option.
Right. For the people that are new.
For people who are new to this.
Right.
And whatever, the point being, whatever you pay, obviously you get a discount if you pay all at once right up front. But other than that, anything you pay counts towards certification.
Right.
You're not, what did you call it, Phil?
You're investing in yourself.
No, there you go. You're investing in yourself. Right. So this isn't $19.95 just thrown out there.
No.
It's $19.95 a month, and it's going to count toward your certification. Yeah. And you can have a goal out there in mind. It's like, I'd like to be certified at this. Yep. Phil's certified. I'm certified. I'll let you in on a little secret. We were the first two to be certified.
There's more. You had more in the past, right? The very recent past, you've got other people getting certified.
We have several other people getting certified. It's way cool. And the main idea of certification is that you can take this thing called the ACT matrix or the pro-social matrix,
right,
and you can go to any group anywhere and engage them. Actually, any person anywhere,
pretty much,
and engage them. In my trappings around the internet, I have had, I bet you, a couple of dozen times, people say, Kevin, you should take that ACT matrix to the White House or to Congress.
Yes, to Congress.
And people would, oh my God, how would you do that? Easy. I would do it. And Phil knows that I would do it in a heartbeat. So anybody who knows,
just give him security clearance and he'll go. That's all you need.
Whatever. Well, I'll bring Phil with me. The both of us will go down and we will do that.
Absolutely.
Because we can engage any audience anywhere.
Yep.
And I don't care how snarky they are. I don't care what it is. It's you can do it. Well, you say, well, how did Kevin get that kind of chutzpah? Well, Kevin got that kind of chutzpah because he been practicing
practice. Yes.
A lot, thousands. And Phil, he's the same way.
Oh yeah,
do the same thing.
Just you're going to get to the point where it shows up inside of you. Is the idea?
It's just there, and so then you go walking into even a contentious situation.
Yep.
And you're okay.
Yeah. Yep.
And you're okay. So if you want to get to that point and you want to be certified at that ability to any situation, anytime, to really communicate with people and influence them toward a better way.
Better way of living.
A better way of living. That's what we do. That's what you'd be certified in. And as a matter of fact, that's at the very top. I'm pretty sure I put that. Yeah, we teach powerful communication and influence skills lead to artful success at being human. And that's what we want any group of people to do. And when we say any group of people, we mean any group of people. We in no way we're apolitical or everything.
We are an inclusive bunch.
We are inclusive. We just whatever. We'll bring this up and talk about this stuff with anyone, and it's fun. So no, go to the matrixacademy.com if you can, and give us ideas or sign up, or if you find us on the web and email you. I'm Kevin Polk at drkevinpolk.com. Phil, you are?
I am Phil today. I'm at evolvingsolutions.co. And also anybody that comes in, if you've already been paying membership, either Kevin or myself, that whatever you're paying is an investment toward your certification. So if you're thinking about that, you wouldn't be starting over. You would just be continuing onward, and any membership fee you have given to either one of us would go toward your certification.
Exactly. And so we'll be back soon. We're just going to go nuts on this for a while and do lots of these. We did the Matrix movie. That was today. Yep. I don't know what we're going to do next, tomorrow or the next day, but we'll announce it. We'll put it up on
you'll see it.
You'll see it, and we'll do it. So we'll call this podcast. It's podcast number 10 for the Art of Being podcast, but it's number 1 for the co-hosted version.
Right.
So here we go. So we'll stop recording.
All right.
Bye-bye, everybody.
See ya. Take care.